Good morning.
Morning.
I call the San Francisco Human Service Commission regular meeting of Thursday, July 28th to order. It is now 9:35 a.m. I am the Human Service Commission President, Scott Kahn. Welcome, everyone. Commissioners, please respond with present when I call your name. President Kahn, I'm here. Vice President McRae. Present. Commissioner Coghlan McDonald.
Present.
Commissioner Semmel.
Present.
Commissioner Singh. I think, is he? No, he's not signed on yet. But there's a
I would
good,
say an absent for.
let's just say absent for now, but he may end up signing on.
Yep, I'll let you.
We have a quorum. Item 2 is the adoption of the agenda. Are there any comments or questions from the commission regarding the agenda? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further requests to speak on this item, is there a motion to approve the agenda? All in favor? Aye. So moved. Item 3 is the adoption of the June 23rd, 2022 regular meeting minutes. Are there any comments or questions from the commission regarding the minutes? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further requests to speak on this item, is there a motion to approve the June 23rd meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? So moved. Turning to Executive Director Rohr.
Good morning, President Kahn, Commissioners. Jump right in with brief federal announcement. The public health emergency that has been in place since COVID began in February has been formally extended until October. There are implications for our program, which I'll speak to later in the report. At this stage, and last month, the budget had just about rounds. And then at that point, we had to bring back the good news.
No, and this thing. This.
Commissioner Singh is here.
And his wife,
It's funny.
or daughter.
Bear with me.
I don't know.
Good.
Then hit here.
Okay,
State budget. So good news really across the board. Capital expanding children's and then they didn't have capital coverage. So in Calabasas, the state, the final budget agreement restored funding in the eligibility portion of the Calabasas program. There was a reduction in the January proposal. Restored back to its prior year. So no funding loss there. Good news on the grant side. So in the January budget, the governor proposed an 11% cost of living adjustment for increase to the grant. Largely due to inflation, of course. But the final budget reflects not only the 11%, but also an additional 10% increase on top of that 11 to account for the intent being that no child who is on CalWORKS should be living in deep poverty. And what is deep poverty? Deep poverty is defined as 50% of the federal poverty. So that additional 10% means that no child will get a cash, be part of a family who's getting a cash grant, but then below that number. The 11% is actually, or the 10% is actually compounded on the 11, results into about a 22.1% overall increase to CalWORKS grants. So for a family of 3, that means that the cash grant beginning in October will be increased from $1,149 a month to $1,264, which is good news, of course. These are state funded increases, so there's no impact on our to the grant increases. In family children services, two items. One is additional funding for flexible support for our resource families. We used to call foster parents. It's similar to the foster parent improvement retention and support funding. This differs There was distributed in prior years. We get 50 million that was ongoing, an additional 50 million in one-time funding for the budget. So our portion of that, it goes to 58 counties, so we'll get probably under a million, but enough to continue to stay our efforts around foster retention, supporting improving resource families. The final budget also includes not only $150 million for family finding. Family finding and child welfare is the practice that we use to find extended family members for potential placements for kids who are in foster care, either potential short-term placements or in the best case, potential long-term placements or even guardianships. So $150 million for that over 5 years, and then an additional 67 million on a one-time basis for the budget year. So again, it's really recognizing the importance of keeping kids with family, extended family, and providing funding for counties to do that. I mentioned last month the potential of 40 waiver counties, of which we are one, receiving an additional state funding to restore funding gaps that occurred when we transitioned from the 40 waiver to the Federal Family First Act. That ended up not happening. It was initially Los Angeles proposal. They're facing a deficit in child welfare of about 150 million. So they sort of went out of the loan, got their delegation on board. We kind of piggybacked on that along with Alameda County and Sacramento. But in the end, it was sort of a series of horse trades, and the governor's office basically said, rather than funding for 10 counties, let's use that funding to fund things like resource families, family finding statewide, and then allocate a smaller amount of money to LA. So we ended up not getting a portion of that. We've been a portion of 300 million. Frankly, for us, it would have been a windfall, would have resulted in surpluses in child welfare, which is not a bad thing, but the loss of that money doesn't affect us negatively. And then the last piece of child welfare that I want to bring to your attention is really good news as well. $30 million in state funding to increase the number of MSW, Masters of Social Work slots in public schools and social work. This for us, all of our protective service workers in child welfare, also in adult services, are MSWs. So this is feeding that pipeline for us, and also for our nonprofit partners who hire graduates from the MSW programs. We're currently working with San Francisco State, who generally is our usually the majority of our students come from there. We also have partnerships with UC Berkeley, working with them on how that particular curriculum to prepare potential careers in child welfare. So that was good news. On the Medi-Cal side, really happy to say that we're the first state in the nation to do this, which is an expansion of the full scope of Medi-Cal. The full scope of Medi-Cal to individuals aged 26 to 49, regardless of immigration. It now means that individuals aged 19 to 19 and above are now eligible, provided they meet the income guidelines and the other eligibility factors are now eligible. So universal coverage for low income persons in California, including undocumented, which is great news. It's effective no later than January of 24. So we do have a year and a half to prepare for that. That date was chosen because the office expects funding, pushing it out a little bit to reduce the costs. And then in Cal Fresh, there's a big push under COVID to enroll. There's expanded student eligibility for college students who needed food support under COVID. And so this funding in the budget this year is about almost $14 million federal, state, and combined funds to implement 1326. It's really contained and has the requirements for boosting access and enrollment for college students. So that's good news as well. So overall, the state budget we fared well. There were some proposals that ended up not getting funded. We had a disaster a disaster response funding package that we were shopping statewide, pursued WDA to provide funding, state funding for disaster response for counties. And then there were some initiatives around funding for supports for kids in child welfare with higher needs, and that ended up not getting funded, but there is funding in the prior year budget to do that. So overall, we fared very well. Shifting gears, kind of the sort of legislative process, has become, I don't want to say it bad, but guaranteed income has become more prevalent in terms of programs across the state and across the country. And what is guaranteed income? It's direct and ongoing cash assistance with no conditions, no restrictions, no strings. So unlike cash assistance through CalWorks, which has work and other activities that are conditions of receiving the dollars, guaranteed income is just no strings. This is really sort of came about. Well, it's been a discussion for a while, and California the city of Stockton, the Marriage Clubs had a pretty large guaranteed income project. It got a lot of press, and sort of the success of that has led to the county doing this. So, coming out of that, the state of California has about $35 million to fund guaranteed income pilot projects to counties for foster youth, or emancipating foster youth, and pregnant women. And so the request for proposals finally came out. It's a competitive procurement process. We've been working on this in preparation for about a year, lining up with nonprofit partners and potential philanthropic funders. So we intend to apply. We're looking at serving about 200 foster youth, providing them about $1,200 a month over 18 months. So that's roughly what we're looking at as we proceed with writing up the grant proposal. We'll see if that's going to budget. I want to remind you that in our budget that you in February, we have $2 million in general funds to serve as a match for state dollars. So the program can be as large as $4 million or more, depending on philanthropic investment as well. So at the local level, I know Commissioner Stemwell in particular, but this commission has been interested in sort of our partnership with the Department of Homelessness for housing, subsequent to their formation and the shift from our homeless division over to that new department. So I want to bring to your attention one initiative that I'm really pleased about. It's called the Shelter and Navigation Center Multidisciplinary Team (MDT) approach, which was created in collaboration with the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing. It's a pilot that brings multiple services directly to people in shelters and navigation centers. It's really a roving team model that goes from site to site. So city staff as well as nonprofit staff. We do bringing services to them, right? And doing it in a rolling way so that it can reduce funding to the nonprofits, so they don't have dedicated staff on site to do this. But sometimes it's a one-shot deal, right? So things like assessing shelter guests for eligibility for permanent support housing, to do that once, sort of move on. Screening and submit benefit applications for our programs. So principally county health assistance program, CalFresh and Medical. Enrolling clients in the state funded housing programs. So the housing and disability advocacy program, which is HDAD. SSI application advocacy, federal disability, and then enrolling clients in the home safe program,
Fully
housing program linked to adult protective services. So just in the last few months, this MDT or multidisciplinary team has visited 4 navigation sites with really impressive early results. Team has assessed over 200 guests for purpose of housing, screened over 100 guests for benefits, and enrolled 21 people in the state-funded HDAP program and 9. And that's just 4 sites. And so we have obviously many more sites to go. The Department of Homelessness is continuing to look at shelters, mostly non-congregate shelters in formats. And we're working with them on a data dashboard to have a look ongoing what kind of impact we're having. And admin and finance, Mayor agreed yesterday on a budget signing ceremony yesterday at noon. We received several more supervisors ad backs. As you all know, we go through the process of the board, they reduce budgets across all the departments and come up with their funding priorities. So we received a lot of ad backs on the DOS side, disability and aging services side. Most notable for us on the human services and benefits side was $15 million. It really a mayor's augmentation to the budget after she submitted it to the board to support a food coordination program, that we built up at the beginning of the COVID response. This is in addition to the 11 million that she had allowed us to carry forward. So it's really an estimate of $26 million just to stay this work. And just to remind you of the impact this work has had, we've served almost 74,000 people, which is an estimated about 180,000 versus in the portfolio of programs, which is groceries, food pantries, grocery vouchers, a whole range of other interventions. And also through our community partners have served over 150,000 meals and again over 100 million grocery bags. Also our isolation and quarantine food hotline, this is for households who have to quarantine due to COVID. We serve about 2,000 households, over 18,000 bags of groceries, and 37,000 meals. So this, funding goes really directly into cupboards and refrigerators of low-income families and local individuals and seniors. And so we're really pleased that the mayor and board work together to come up with a solution to sustain this initiative for another 12 months. I do shifting to the facility side. Don't know I have to report this, but I want to recognize the individual who's leaving us. So Ari Walsh, who has Ari's honors here, but Ari has been a facilities director for some time now. He has really done a fantastic job. The facilities work is largely done behind the scenes, right? Staff moves, making sure our buildings were operational, making sure our buildings were safe during COVID. But under COVID, they had a huge responsibility in supporting the hotels that we brought on. And RE has been the head of that group and has done a fantastic job. Well, he's leaving the agency, and his last day is tomorrow, Friday. He's going to become a great opportunity for RE. Director of Facilities and Operations, overseeing all aspects of the Salesforce Transmate Terminal. Event management at the rooftop park, so we'll get discounts for that, I think. Managing the retail program, the lease enforcement, asset management, security coordination. He's really, again, just a key member of that team that is now demobilizing the shelter place hotels, the isolation quarantine hotel system, and reform really brought them up. And so I just want to recognize Ari, who's on or not, for his just great dedication and work. He's tired. The number of times on Saturday or Sunday I get a call from him, or he would answer more often. He would answer a call from me to address something that had come up, and he was always right on it. And really paid attention to the importance of facilities being a service to our employees as well. And so just want to thank Ari for his great work and congratulate him on his new position and wish him very well in the future. Lastly, in the admin side of the house, in our DEIB, or diversity, equity, including belonging division, or office, the mentorship program, the first cohort of the mentorship program closes this month. In fact, we have a graduation event today. And then a new cohort of mentors and mentees begins in August. It's really, we had this program about a decade ago. I'm really happy we're re-upping it. It's really a great opportunity for staff to match with managers in the agency and shout at that and really or get a sense on what the work is like and the level of agency. Folks who are interested in remaining in the HSA and moving up. And then in September, the agency will be conducting our second annual survey of staff on their experiences and perspectives on racial equity. And this is part of our agency all staff survey going out in September. In Medical, really the theme in Medi-Cal under this governor has really been expansion in a lot of ways. I mentioned that Alex earlier, but this is another way that under his leadership, we're expanding Medi-Cal. So on June 29, the federal government approved our waiver to essentially limit asset limits for Medi-Cal programs. Usually the program is effective for seniors, people with disabilities, individuals in nursing facilities. And what it does is increases the asset limit to $65,000 per person, or excuse me, $130,000 per person and $65,000 per additional person. It means that before this, in order to get Medi-Cal, typically seniors in the state have to spend down on their savings in order to get the federal and state supported health care, which is, you know, not a good policy, right? You create financial insecurity in order to get health insurance. Well, this will eliminate that, and which is will affect thousands or tens of thousands of seniors in California. Certainly hundreds of thousands in San Francisco. So we're really pleased that that was approved and successfully implemented on July 1st. I mentioned the public health emergency continues, which means that all the waivers of the CalFresh and Medi-Cal will continue. The waivers, broadly speaking, as mentioned before, allow for continuous eligibility and easier enrollment into CalFresh.
And that's,
Since you requested this last month, we had a report on CalFresh Awareness Month and what we were doing. And so I want to report back on some of our impact in the community. Our advertising reached about 100,000 unique users, particular emphasis towards college students, which I mentioned earlier, and also immigrants. We did see an increased site traffic on our website, which is the principal way to get on CalFresh and COVID. About 500 visitors to the CalFresh for Foods page and more than 800 to the new food page, which are both looking at the website, leading to hopefully increased applications and onboarding, which we'll be able to look at over the next month or two. Lastly, in CalFresh, the Department of State implemented federal policy extending CalFresh.
Is it on mute?
Ukrainian humanitarian parolees, which means that Ukrainian emigres who get approved for humanitarian eligibility at the federal level get CalFresh. So in Cal, I mentioned this last month, beginning August 1st, which is Monday, CAP will begin its resumption of Care Not Cash, meaning that we're offering guaranteed shelter beds to our unhoused applicants. Shelter will be offered at MSC South, which is Fit and Bryan, next door shelter, which is Polk and Geary. Unhoused CAP applicants will receive shelter, guaranteed shelter beds, associated meals, storage, etc., and then a reduced grant as part of the CAP package. As you know, since March of 2020, we have suspended it due to COVID, lack of access to shelter beds. We will now have a dedicated group of shelter beds to provide to CAP applicants initially, and then as we increase the number of beds we need, we'll be providing it to current CAP recipients as well. I want to just report on a couple of COVID interventions that we implemented for our families, low-income families in San Francisco. We did several, two. We had a digital divide initiative, which really, because of COVID, obviously everything became online, and a lot of our job seekers or families with kids who were trying to learn remotely needed access to technology, sort of addressing what's called digital divide, as you all know. So basically, we used our funding to equip households with laptops or tablets, paired with digital literacy training, tech support, sometimes connectivity, and we reached 245 households for this effort, meaning that before COVID, families were able to get the kids to attend school remotely and be able to access other supports. And that was targeted for Cal's households. And then the other initiative is applied to undocumented households who were not eligible for any federal or state stimulus dollars. We did a local stimulus package, local assistance to undocumented households, $2,500 one-time benefit for households. We reached 592 families through this. I mentioned this because the system is now closed, the budget is exhausted on it. We really able to get households who needed the support just as much as documented citizen families, and we're able to reach almost 600 households, which is significant. These are household families, individuals who, for obvious reasons, tend not to want to apply for government assistance, and sometimes for fear, obviously, of reporting and some sort of reprisal. In San Francisco, but nevertheless, there is we able to reach almost 600 families. It's quite an accomplishment. And then last, our family and children services division continue to make positive progress on getting our foster youth vaccinated. We're above the national average. We're still trying to get to the San Francisco average. We increased by another 5-6% last month. Looks like about 7% increase since last month. So it's slow, it's progressing on, which is positive. And then lastly, yesterday we had a really neat event for our foster youth and some of our caregivers and some of our staff. Daryl Daniels, who's known as DMC, Run DMC, 1/3 of the group, came and visited HSA yesterday. He's in town to do a fundraiser for a number of nonprofits, but also to talk about his children's book that he did. But he came out of favor to specifically lead all foster youth and caregivers to talk about his experience being in the foster care system in New York, being adopted by a family, and how he navigated that and ended up, obviously very successful as the pioneering grandparents from DMC. And he has signed books, took pictures with caregivers, with youth, and with me as an old man. I mentioned it was there's always concluded this. Their first album came out in 1984. I was 15 years old. I remember going to Tower Records, 2 cassette tapes. Well, pretty good. 2 Houdini, Escape, and I bought the Run DMC cassette, and I still have it. I looked at that basement, I couldn't find it, and so Daryl said to me, I told the story. He said, when you find it, mail it to me, I'll sign it. He was just so gracious. He spent about, oh gosh, over 2 hours, 2.5 hours here in Warren, engaging folks. We signed the books at the beginning, and he remembered everyone's name. So when he was doing his talk, he would point to the foster youth, he knew Sergio. It was great. So thank you to the staff of Parent and Children who arranged that. And thanks to him. So I'll conclude with that. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much. Item 5, excuse me, is the employee of the month. The commission is pleased to announce that Joseph Villatoro, a welfare fraud investigator, is the July 2022 employee of the month. Well, being everyone clapped, I assume I don't need to repeat that, but it sounds like you all heard it. So, as a welfare fraud investigator, Joe is a peace officer and has a lot of responsibilities. He manages a criminal investigation caseload related to alleged fraud and intentional program violations in CAP, CalFresh, CalWorks, and other income maintenance welfare programs. Additionally, he compiles safeguards and presents evidence for prosecution. He interviews witnesses, conducts computer checks, analyzes welfare data, prepares search warrant applications, makes arrests, and writes reports. He testifies in Superior Court, Small Claims Court, Welfare Division Court, and administrative hearings. Joe also oversees the Human Service Agency's security. In the early stages of the COVID pandemic, when the city was setting up shelter-in-place hotels for unhoused San Franciscans, Joe was tasked with helping to set up the security operations at those hotel sites. Joe was instrumental in working with the security provider, ensuring that all 30 COVID shelter-in-place sites had security post orders along with guards who were properly trained and effectively performing their duties based on the needs of each site. He made sure the security provider was assigning the correct number of guards at each site, which could be anywhere between 2 to 10 guards per shift, depending on the size and need of each site. Joe also had to make sure the guards actually showed up and were on duty at each assigned shift. Security guards have a round-the-clock presence at the shelter-in-place sites. Needless to say, Joe put in a lot of overtime, including nights and weekends, to ensure that hotel tenants and disaster service workers were safe on sites across the city. A few months into the operation, the city switched from one existing security provider at the shelter-in-place sites to 4 new and different companies. Joe expertly, efficiently coordinated the switchover to the new security services. He made sure that the handoff at each site was seamless and smooth. He accomplished this by communicating and coordinating with everyone involved, both the outgoing security provider and the incoming security providers, so that they were fully prepared for the switchover. He was in constant contact with all the providers, reminding them when services were ending for one provider and beginning for another, and what the expectations were. As a result of his great work and attention to the smallest of details, all sites were converted to new providers quickly, on schedule and without major issues, saving the city a significant amount of money. Overseeing the security at the shelter-in-place hotel sites has been a fairly challenging endeavor. However, by going above and beyond and putting in a lot of time and effort, Joe makes it all seem deceivingly easy. When issues at the sites arise, Joe quickly communicates with the providers and works with them to find appropriate resolutions. He works with security providers to find creative ways to handle the challenges that require out-of-the-box thinking to make sure security operations of both the agency and shelter-in-place sites work as smoothly as possible. Joe continues to oversee the winding down of the security operations at the shelter-in-place hotel sites that are scheduled to close. At the same time, Joe continues to perform his regular duties, including overseeing the security operations at the Human Service Agency buildings. It is with great appreciation and pride that we present Joe with the Employee of the Month award. Calling on Mr. Roy.
Congratulations, Mr. Taylor. Grant. Host conference. Joe himself, so you can see the reason we were set up. Thank you. Joe is so calm and chill and doing pretty high pressure work, right? And investigation is different. Particularly around COVID, where he's balancing security at 30 sites while he was his day job. And when I said meetings, we all did a partner in COVID, we said I really appreciate the recognition. We all have a part of this. And so it's, I think Joe wrote his job. Very supportive. He's emailed me a few times saying, right, saying, hang in there, sort of supportive words. Right. I appreciate it. I'm sensing you probably do that a lot with your colleagues. So not only being recognized for your work, I think you're recognized for your demeanor and your approach and giving your heart.
Appreciate that. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks. Commission President Khan, Commissioners, Frank, Dan. It's an honor to be here. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I wanted to just say, like Trent said, I'm thrilled to be able to do this to help out. Everybody came together and did their part to make the pandemic much more manageable. I was tapped on the shoulder to help out with the security aspect of it. Thrilled to be able to do that. But I want to recognize and acknowledge that it wasn't just me by myself. There were a lot of other people that were involved. We had the folks at the COVID Command Center. They put in a lot of hard work. We had the community-based organization teams. They worked on the front lines at the hotel with the client, making it all possible. And then, as importantly, we had 4 security companies, providers that I worked with and worked with me tirelessly to make sure that everything was going the way it was supposed to go. And you know, sometimes there were problems, and we addressed those at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, but whatever time it was, and we got it done. If we needed to have people there, if we needed additional staffing, if we needed to make some changes, we did that in real time to make sure that you know, the end product, the hotels and providing for the clients was key to all of this. It was why we were there. And so it was important to me to make sure that we were working with everybody all the time to make that happen. So I wanted to acknowledge everybody. I want to thank my coworkers and friends for supporting me. That's means a lot. I like to come to my office and do my thing and go home and feel that I put in a good day. That works for me too. I said in one of these things where they were asking me, I do enjoy coming. I do. I like working for the agency, and I like what we're doing. So thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
The consent calendar. Do any of my fellow commissioners want to remove an item for individual discussion? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on this item, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar? All in favor? Aye. So moved. Item 7 on the agenda is action items. The first action item, 7A, is a request by Susie Smith for the commission to consider fiscal year 2022-2023 Human Service Commission annual statement of purpose. Susie.
Good morning. Susie Smith, Deputy Director for Policy Planning and Public Affairs. And every year we're required by charter to renew our statement of purpose. And for the newer commissioner members, it's really, it lists our state, federal, and local authorizing legislation and mandates. And I think it's important just to reaffirm, right, every year, like why are we here? What's our North Star? And so I just want to remind us all of our vision statement and our mission statement, and then highlight just a few pieces where we've kind of additions to the statement of purpose over the last couple of years. So our mission is a San Francisco where everyone has the opportunity and support to achieve their full potential through all stages of life. And we do that through our mission. We are committed to delivering essential services that support and protect people, families, and communities. And we do this importantly through partnering with community-based organizations. and advocating for public policies to improve the well-being and economic security for all. So obviously, this commission is about approving our CBO contracts, and also you hear a lot about the state and federal and local policies, and so that's a big part of what we do. So this just goes through our major programs. I'm not going to go over them. I'll just highlight a few things. So with CalWorks, several years ago now, former Mayor Ed Lee had brought together department heads and said, what would it take to move 500 families out of poverty? Like, we can do that, right? Like, you guys are smart, you're hardworking, like, I'll give you the money. And so out of that, born a project called Project 500 that's now called Families Rising. And so we added this several years ago to the statement of purpose, but what that does is it layers lower case management ratios with CalWorks clients, and it pairs them with mentors that help set goals. And it also adds home visiting program and mental health services to the CalWorks suite of services. And the state importantly piloted that here in San Francisco, maybe 10 years ago now. And importantly, then the state replicated that model of embedding home visiting program within the CalWorks program. So we partner with DPH and several other departments on that initiative, but just another example of how we often pilot things locally that then get scaled at the state level. And then also last year, we added a new item to our statement of purpose, which is about our community food coordination work. So this has really been an unprecedented local investment in food support. And I know you all have heard the contracts, and I'm so pleased that the mayor has extended that. So we're now able to continue. It's about $26 million in local investment in community-based organizations to deliver culturally appropriate food, meals, and pantries. So again, just a really unprecedented initiative. And then I won't go through again all of these. I mean, obviously with CAP and our CalWorks program, the idea is either to help people provide not only the cash support, but the wraparound services to help them either get on a track to employment and self-sufficiency or on disability benefits if they're not able to work. And then Medi-Cal, it's been a slow expansion over the last decade of really providing healthcare for all, and starting with ACA, and then continuing with now all undocs, and soon by 2024 will be eligible for Medi-Cal. With this coming year, a big focus will be on implementing the Medi-Cal expansion to undocs, as well as the asset limit lifting that Trent had mentioned earlier. And the number one priority will be when the public health emergency is lifted, we will have to be recertifying people for Medi-Cal for the first time in 3 years. And so we're doing a big push now just to make sure we get people's updated addresses and partnering with the health plan and Department of Public Health on data sharing efforts so that we can get their addresses, and that we can also alert them when their Medi-Cal recertification date comes up, because that is, thousands of people that are going to need to recertify. Other than that, FCS over the years has focused more on prevention. We've started this at state level and locally with our 4E waiver, and thinking upstream, what do we need to do to prevent people from needing our FCS services? And that's culminated in the passage federally with the Families First Prevention Services Act. So really a sea change shift over the years. And then lastly, while we don't have homeless services within our department, over the years, the state has attached housing supports to several of our programs. So people on CalWorks eligible for the housing support program, people on CAP locally eligible for cash housing, but then also low-income indigent adults are eligible they're disabled for a new state program called HDAP, which Ken highlighted. So over the years, there's been layering of how does the state support people who are low income, attach the benefits to housing. So we've sort of increased that work over the years. So a very long-winded way of saying this is our mandate, our statement of purpose for the next year, and we seek approval for implementing that statement of purpose, and happy to answer any questions.
Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further requests to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. So moved. Thank you. Item 7B and C. Self-help for the elderly and Mission Economic Development Agency. Will be Thea Hillman, but must be voted on separately. Please note that Anna Aguilar is listed as a defendant of the defendant. She will not be presented.
Good morning. Good morning, commissioners. I'm Thea Hillman, a communications specialist on the communications team at SFHSA. Item B is a grant to self-help for the elderly for the provision of immigrant outreach and engagement services for the period of July 1, 2022 through June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $500,000 plus a 10% contingency for a total grant amount not to exceed $550,000. The purpose of the grant to self-help for the elderly is to increase engagement and enrollment in public assistance programs, namely CalWorks, CalFresh, Medi-Cal, and CAP, among members of immigrant Chinese and Latinx Hispanic communities who would otherwise be reluctant to apply for government support due to fear and distrust. Our efforts are focused on the Chinese and Latinx Hispanic communities because they have the largest percentage of people likely eligible but unenrolled in our public benefits. To build trust and positive relationships, the outreach and engagement services of this 3-year grant program rely on community-based organizations with existing relationships and demonstrated expertise connecting with the communities we're hoping to engage. The grant program includes a 6-month planning phase to identify and develop outreach and engagement methods and resources, and is designed to iterate regularly based on learnings from the previous phase. This grant was developed in close collaboration between multiple teams within the Department of Benefits and Family Support, the public benefits programs, planning, communications, and with ample support from contracts. I am available to answer questions regarding the services, as are my colleagues, including Anna Marie Lara, Program Manager Outreach for Medi-Cal and CalFresh, Elizabeth Leone, the Contract Manager, and I know that at least one grantee representative is online, Winnie Yu from Self-Help for the Elderly. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion for 7B?
I move we adopt 7B.
Is there a second? All in favor? So moved.
Don't do a vote for 7C yet.
Don't do vote?
No, she needs to.
Okay. All right. Yeah, no, I understand.
Yep.
Item C. Item C is a request for authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with the Mission Economic Development Agency, also referred to as META, for the provision of immigrant outreach and engagement services for the period of July 1, 2022 through July 30th, 2025, in the amount of $1 million plus a 10% contingency for a total grant amount not to exceed $1,100,000. So the purpose of this grant is similar to the Mission Economic Development, similar to self-help for the elderly. It's just like the item in the grant in item B to self-help for the elderly, except that this grant amount is larger, and META utilizes sub-grantees, Good Samaritan, Wu Yi Children's Services, and Promotoras Activas San Francisco, organizations that have deep roots within the communities that we want to engage with. And they have staff with lived experience who are experts at connecting with potential clients. So that's my description for item B. I'm sorry, item C.
Is there a motion then?
Second.
All in favor? So moved. Thank you. Item 7D, calling on Cindy Lynn. Cindy Lynn is requesting authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with the San Francisco Marin Food Bank. Cindy.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Cindy Lynn. I'm the Food Coordination Manager here at HSA. Today, I am here to request authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with the SF Marin Food Bank for the period of July 1st, 2022 through January 31st of 2023 in the amount of $5.725 million plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $6,297,500. The purpose of this grant is to distribute groceries to San Franciscans throughout the city, focusing on high-need neighborhoods via pop-up pantries. These pop-up pantries are outdoor pantries that can accommodate upwards of 1,000 people per distribution. They were originally set up as a pandemic response, but 2 years later, the demand has not decreased, and indoor pantries still prove to be difficult to operate. This grant will allow the SF Marin Food Bank to leverage their other resources in combination with city support in order to distribute over 40,000 units of groceries on a monthly basis. There are currently 20 pop-up pantries, including a drive-through option, and they are focused in serving the highest need neighborhoods of San Francisco. Sean Brooks, Chief Programs Officer at the Food Bank, has joined us virtually, I believe, and together we are happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your consideration.
Are there any comments or questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further requests to speak on the item, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? So moved. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Item 7E will also be presented by Cindy. She is requesting authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with Dolores Street Community Services.
Commissioners, next, I am here to request authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with Dolores Street Community Services for the provision of operations of the Mission Food Hub for the period of August 1st, 2022 through January 31st, 2023 in the amount of $2 million plus a contingency of 10% for a total not to exceed amount of $2.2 million. This grant is the result of RFP 1027, which was released in order to procure a new provider for the Mission Food Hub, as the current operator no longer wishes to continue. The Mission Food Hub started in the beginning of the pandemic, and each week since has served thousands of food insecure San Franciscans with grocery staples. This grant supports the continuation of this vital resource in the Mission neighborhood, which has been disproportionately affected by the pandemic. Through this grant, Dolores Street Community Services will continue the Mission Food Hub as its new operator. The goal for this grant is to distribute a minimum 5,000 units of groceries per month through a market-style pantry, where participants are able to select food items on their own. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you again for your consideration.
Any comments or questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? Hearing no further request to speak on the item, is there a motion for item 7E?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Item 7F, Miyoko Ye.
Good morning, commissioners. I'm tuning in via Zoom. Is the sound okay?
Sounds great.
Okay, wonderful. I'm Miko Ye, Program Specialist with San Francisco Benefits Net. San Francisco Benefits Net requests authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with Civic Edge Consulting for the provision of services to develop and deliver a comprehensive digital Medi-Cal handbook during the period of August 1st, 2022 through July 30th, 2024 in the amount of $179,995 plus a 10% contingency for a new total grant amount not to exceed $197,995. The handbook will support the skills, knowledge and continued learning of SFHSA economic support and self-sufficiency and San Francisco Benefits Net staff, of which Medi-Cal is a part. Civic Edge shall work predominantly with and under the guidance of ESSS and SFBN staff to plan, design, and create the final product. Civic Edge will be responsible for the handbook contents and any related collateral material, content, and training. The handbook will include program policies and procedures, relevant examples and scenarios, best practices, and other content in a logical, searchable, and easy-to-read format. SFHSA IT will develop the web-based platform where the handbook is housed, and Civic Edge will collaborate with IT to ensure that the final product transitions, uploads smoothly, and will be maintainable on the platform. I'm available to answer questions regarding the services. Tara Alvarez, the contract manager, is also here to respond to questions regarding the procurement and contracting process. And Amber Shipley, our partner from Civic Edge Consulting, is also tuning in via Zoom.
Thank you very much. Is there any comment from members or questions from members of the commission? Calling on public comment. Hearing no further requests to speak, we will close public comment. Is there a motion?
Move.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
So
Thank
moved.
you.
Thank you. Item 7G, Casey Shute. Shooty. Tell me how to pronounce it. Shoot?
Hello again, President County Commissioners. I'm Casey Schutte, an analyst with FCS, and I'm here today to seek your authorization to enter into a grant agreement with Family Builders by Adoption for the provision of adoption and permanency services. Under this grant agreement, Family Builders provides a range of services intended to promote permanency for youth involved with FCS, consistent with the three main goals of the child welfare system, which are safety, permanency, and well-being. Services under this grant agreement include child-specific, full-range permanency work, such as family finding and engagement. It also includes completing evaluations on prospective resource families and engaging with resource families to facilitate their ability to become adoptive parents. Family Builders also works one-on-one with FCS protective services workers to build those workers' skills and knowledge related to permanency for youth. Family Builders has been partnering with HSA to provide a wide range of adoption and permanency services for the past 17 years. Through this partnership, each year over 75 youth receive individualized permanency services, and Family Builders continually maintains a pool of at least 25 families who have been approved to become adoptive homes. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have regarding this request. Also joining us today virtually and available to answer questions is Jill Jacobs, Family Builders Executive Director. Thank you for your consideration.
Any questions or comments?
James McCray. Good morning, Mr. Schutte. I just noted 12 individual children and 25 families would be serviced. Is that yearly?
Yes. Well, so the 25 families, the goal is to always have a pool of 25 families who are available to adopt youth. And then the 12 youth who achieve legal permanency, that's an annual goal. Yeah, and I'll just add to that, legal permanency is the highest, is what we strive for, but there's goals around relational permanency and for youth who aren't able to achieve legal permanency.
Remain consistent or constant over the next 4 years, or are we just trying to put a marker to keep us moving in response?
Yeah, we always look for the numbers. The goals for the contract are the 12 youth, but we definitely are. We always have a focus on permanency and are looking in particular on how we can fully engage Family Builder services to bring that number if at all possible.
Questions, comments? Is there any public comment? Then I ask for a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? So moved. Thank you. Item 7H, Jeffrey Nagy. I like it. Is requesting authorization to modify the existing grant agreement with homeless prenatal program.
I'm Jeff McGuy, Program Support Analyst with HSA's Family and Children Services. As stated in the agenda, the Department of Benefits and Family Support seeks the Commission's authorization to modify the existing grant with homeless prenatal program for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, in an additional amount of $2,047,307 plus a 10% contingency for a revised total not to exceed $8,076,828. The purpose of this grant is to provide housing case management, navigation, and broker services, including housing search, lease up, short and long-term subsidies, and aftercare support for child welfare families who are identified as being at risk or as being homeless. The grant also provides data support and an outcome evaluation by Chapin Hall in Chicago, which looks at the effects this housing intervention has on permanency and well-being for our families. The purpose of this modification is to extend the grant for one more year. Bringing Families Home is the only housing program in San Francisco that prioritizes child welfare and well families. In the previous fiscal year, the program worked with 43 families and housed 28. They have housed 90 families during the previous 3-year grant cycle and 139 families since first launching in 2017. The goal is to house another 25 to 32 families in the next fiscal year. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the program. So, thank you.
Ask if there are any questions or comments. Hearing none, then I would ask for a motion to approve. Oh, excuse me, I didn't ask for public comment. Is there any public comment? I asked for a motion to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. Thank you. Item 7I, calling on Graham Dobson, is requesting authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with the Low Income Investment Fund. Graham.
Commissioners, I'm Graham Dobson. I'm the Senior Policy Analyst at the Department of Early Childhood. It was formerly known as the Office of Early Care and Education. We request authorization to enter into a new grant agreement with the Low Income Investment Fund for the period of July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2024, in the amount of $83,151,138. Plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $91,466,252. The purpose of the grant is to administer the San Francisco Child Care Facilities Fund and Technical Assistance Program. A low-income investment fund administers pre-development, capital development, startup, and renovation and repair grants for early education and child care facility development, and provides facility-related technical assistance and support, project management, and training. In this new grant agreement, funding is specifically allocated in the budget to support both child care centers and family child care homes. This is a new piece of this grant moving forward. Previously, it was just one source of funding. Now we've separated, so we allocate specifically money to support centers and family child care educators. This contract includes funding from citywide child care development impact fees. These child care fees are charged to residential, hotel, and office developments citywide. And the contract also includes the administration of additional interagency planning implementation committee capital new development grants. Now, these grants are funded through development impact fees that are restricted to expand child care in specific neighborhood area plans, such as Market Octavia, Visitation Valley, Eastern Neighborhoods, South of Market, and Balboa Park. The big difference with this contract is that it adds the administration of a substantial additional primary local revenue source from Proposition C reserve funds of $60 million. That's why we've seen a big increase in what this grant would normally be. This has been allocated to meet the increased need by San Francisco childcare centers and family childcare educators for facility projects, including capital development grants, renovation and repair support, and natural outdoor play space developments. We're using this, the city development impact fees that we have not been enough over the last few years to really support the increased costs of facility development in the city and the number of projects that we have in the pipeline. We had some money allocated to the department from a ballot measure called Prop C several years ago. It was held in legal limbo. And so we have a reserve amount there that we're allocating $30 million in this fiscal year and $30 million in the next fiscal year to support facility development and expansion to increase capacity for childcare, especially for infants and toddlers. So I have staff actually from Low Income Investment Fund here today in person, and I'm happy to answer any further questions that you might have about this grant.
Is there any public comment? Is there any comment from members of the, or questions from members of the commission? Hearing no further request to speak, we will close public comment. Is there a motion? So second? All in favor? Aye. So moved. Item 7J is a request for approval of a sole source waiver to enter into a new contract agreement with Blackberry Company.
Good day, President Khan, Commissioners, and Executive Director Rowe. My name is Alex Leontiev. I'm the Business Engagement Team Lead from IT. I'm here to request approval as a sole source waiver and authorization to enter into a contract with the Blackberry Company for the period of August 1st, 2022 through July 31st, 2025 in the amount of $772,922, plus a 10% contingency for a total amount not to exceed $850,214. The purpose of the contract is to provide Blackberry UEM and ad hoc software. HSA has used Blackberry's UEM suite and ad hoc commercial software for 13 years. This contract would include the Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing, as well as Juvenile Probation Department. This software and application were previously procured through the Office of Contract Administration's Tech Marketplace. HSA and the other departments would like to continue using Blackberry, but there are new requirements from the city's Department of Technology and Office of Contracts Administration. Because of the nature of protected health information and personally identifiable information data being shared when these services are in use, a business associate addendum is required and will now have to be on a software maintenance contract agreement. Therefore, a direct contract with Blackberry is required. We currently use Blackberry UEM, which is an enterprise mobile management system that provides mobile device application and contact management, along with containerized mobile access to email, calendar, and contacts. That was a mouthful. Blackberry protects our email and the contents of our email, encrypting it on the phone, on the mobile phone, so that if a phone is lost or stolen, the data are protected. We're also able to remotely disable phones due to loss or theft. We also use Blackberry Ad Hoc, which is a mass email and SMS text notification platform for communicating with our clients. This will be a sole source contract because Blackberry is the proprietary owner of the software and the only entity able to sign BAA on their behalf. I thank you for your consideration, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions from the commission? Is there any public comment? I'm going to ask for a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution to hold in-person meetings with some members possibly appearing remotely. Are there any comments or questions from the commission? there any public comment? Hearing no further comments, is there a motion?
I move the resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 8 is requesting public comment. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, our commission meeting is adjourned.
See you in September.